Hey, this is Tony, the other Tony. And I'm doing a lesson today because my son gave me this Fibonacci shirt. Now you think it's a Ferrari shirt, but it's not. It's Fibonacci. I'm going to tell you about Fibonacci and Fibonacci numbers, and we're going to explain it to you if you don't know, all right? And Fibonacci was a genius, and so was Ferrari too, for making those cars, right? So Fibonacci lived in the Middle Ages around 1200, and he was a math genius, and he came up with a sequence of numbers that we're going to talk about. We're going to see it in nature. That's why I'm in the garden, right? And so I'm not too good with numbers. I have a Uncle Vito. He runs a numbers game. He's pretty good with it. I have another uncle who's a banker. He doesn't actually work in a bank, but you know what I'm talking about. Okay. So anyway, Fibonacci, he was a genius with numbers. I didn't even know they had numbers in the Middle Ages, but they did. And he figured out this sequence of numbers, and I'm going to show it to you. And he added 0 to 1, and he got 1. He added 1 to 1, he got 2. He added 2 to 1, he got 3. He added 3 to 2, he got 5, and it keeps going and going and going, right? Okay, so we see these numbers growing exponentially into a spiral that gets bigger and bigger in the same ratio, and we see this spiral in nature, in the design of nature, all over the place. Probably the best thing to explain it or show it is in a nautilus shell. So here's a nautilus shell, and you can see how that spiral grows and grows, right? All right. We also see it in all sorts of flowers and pine cones, and I'm going to show you some of the ones that I saw in the garden today. I'm going to see the Fibonacci spiral in these flowers. Here you go. Okay, so I'm going to show you some flowers in the garden that go along with the Fibonacci numbers in design, in flowers. Here you go. Here's another flower with the design. If you look in the center part. So look at the center of these daisies. You see the design there, the Fibonacci design? And how about these roses? You see this Fibonacci design? So here's a pine cone I picked up, and you can see the spiral in this. Sometimes you can see it better from behind here, like this. And now I'm going to show you a picture from that we have that marks it out. So here's the picture that shows the spiral, Fibonacci spiral in the back of a pine cone. Okay, here's some pictures of some succulents. You can see the design in those petals, right? And here's another one. Now we see these Fibonacci numbers and design in all sorts of things. We see it in the human body. We see it in the design of the horse, like I showed you here. It's not about Ferrari, it's about Fibonacci, right? So with the human body, we see it in the ear. And even though it's not a spiral, those numbers also show up in the dimensions of things. For instance, in your finger. This part of this bone's a little bigger, this one's a little bigger, this one's a little bigger. Well, they follow the Fibonacci numbers. We also see it in nature. Here's a picture of a hurricane. You see the spiral? Okay. And this looks a lot like what our galaxy looks like, the Milky Way galaxy. You see the spiral and you see the numbers. So my point here is that this Fibonacci numbers that he discovered in the Middle Ages follow a lot of the design that we see in nature, in the world, in our bodies, and is one of the reasons why I believe that there's a great design, right? So I guess what we learned here today is that this design is throughout nature. And, this is why I believe in God the Father being the great designer. Not some explosion that just randomly made all this stuff, because there's definitely a pattern of what we see in these Fibonacci numbers and in the design of nature, in the body, in the universe. So anyway, hey, peace, love, and Fibonacci.